Hi guys, and welcome to this edition of Phyrefli's Video Digest. As always, thank you very much for watching. Now for this game I want to talk about an indie game called Interstellar Marines. If you're anything like me, you'll have heard of this game many times over the years and kind of just put it to one side and thought, this is vaporware, it's never going to get made. Well, I'm very happy to be able to prove you and me wrong, because the footage that you're seeing in the background is from the early access version on Steam of Interstellar Marines. Now, as I said, IM is made by an indie company called 0 Point Software. They've been around now for about 8 years and have been working on this game in one form or another for that amount of time. However, if you look at their past, they've gone through bankruptcy, they've gone through the crisis that happened with the financial crisis. They went from 20 people on the team down to 2, which is where they are now. They've only got 2 devs working on it, but through all of that they've kept the vision of the game and they've kept what they want the game to be like. Now, both of the devs played an awful lot, in fact you'd probably argue too much, Rainbow Six, so a lot of the gameplay when it's completed is going to be very heavily Rainbow Six influenced, along with the Aliens franchise, because both of them are very, very large Aliens fans. The footage you're seeing now is multiplayer. The main part of the game is going to be the single player co-op experience, and that is something which takes you from your training as an interstellar marine all the way through to mankind's first contact with an alien life form, and it will be split into 3 parts. So the multiplayer is what is called the prologue, and that basically encapsulates your training to be an interstellar marine. So the environment that you're in now is dynamically alterable. The lighting is all dynamic as well. So as you watch this footage, you'll see that the lighting changes, you'll see the environment changes, and that is to simulate different environments while you're training as a marine. 3 to 4 years after prologue has finished, the main part of the story, which is purely single player and co-op, starts, and that takes you through several different missions and probably 6 to 7 hours of co-op gameplay if you do it as a straight co-op without doing the secondary missions or other kinds of things. So you can play for 6 to 7 hours with your mates, 4 of your mates, 3 of your mates rather, or just you, because you can have single player, 2, 3 or 4 player co-op, and then you can run through all of that, and it will have, and this is what's planned, an immense amount of replayability. Again, you've got all the dynamic environments and lighting, so that will really keep things fresh. Now, one thing I do need to mention is one of my main reasons for being interested in this game is that I'm actually on the community management team. I've got the job I've always wanted. So all those things I've been saying in digests for what, close on 2 years now, I finally get to put into practice. And in fact, one of the reasons why I was employed by these guys is because they'd watched the digests and they saw there the same kind of thing that they want to bring out with their community, because community is a big thing to ZPS, the company behind Interstellar Marines. As I said, there's 2 developers and there's 2 community managers, Bozar, who also worked on Ravaged by Two Dawn, and myself. And so we have 2 CMs, 2 devs, so a ratio of 1 to 1 in terms of people looking after the community versus people actually building the game. So you can kind of imagine the amount of interest and the amount of importance that they place on the community. And the development policy that they have is what's called an open door development policy. So in other words, we try to be as transparent as possible with the community on what we're doing. Now obviously we can't share everything, but we've actually got to the point where we've discussed quite seriously putting a webcam in the office so that you can watch the developers develop, and it doesn't get more transparent than that. Of course, you'd also end up watching them pick their noses, farting and scratching themselves, but hey, that's just part of the deal. So that is one of the things that really brought me and really made me interested in Interstellar Marines, is the community and the way that the guys have always handled the community. It's refreshing after dealing with larger companies with a lot of inertia behind them. You know, you get people like Dan Latros from DICE, who is a great guy but is stuck between a rock and a hard place. Within something like Interstellar Marines, you can, as a community person, a community manager, you can actually make a genuine difference. And one of the things that we've tried to do, as the game was released on Steam's early access almost a month ago now actually, is we try to be all over the forums and making sure that if anyone's got a question, we answer it. If it's a good idea, we make a record of it. If it's a bug, we try and fix it. And if it's a bug that we can't fix, we make damn sure it gets up to the developers. In fact, that brings me right to a nice point. If you've got the game and you've got any feedback, any bugs, anything like that, please drop a mail to support@zeropointsoft.com, because that comes straight through to us. If it's a bug that can't be fixed, it's put through to the devs, because by golly do we want to squash those bloody bugs, of which there are relatively few, I'm glad to say. Considering the game is a pre-alpha, it is very stable. The servers are extremely stable. And it's an absolute delight to work with a game that's this early in its development that actually you can play without it crashing every 30 seconds. And again, that's something I should probably reiterate. The game as it is now is probably one, possibly as many as 2 years away from completion. It is at the moment just multiplayer, and there's 80, maybe 90% of the game that's not yet been implemented, and that's why it's on Steam's early access. So if you've not bought it and you're looking at it, or you're listening to what I'm saying now, please do feel free to check it out, but absolutely make sure that you read the content on the store page. That details exactly where the game is now. It details what we're planning on putting in the near roadmap, in the near future, but also explains in quite some depth the vision for the game as well, and it is a massive vision. This game really is something that we want to develop as effectively Rainbow Six in space, with a huge, massive, immersive, alien-esque kind of story to it. So it's something that you'll be pulled into, and I genuinely cannot wait until this game is finished, or at least until the first co-op missions come out, and then we can play it, and just you and 3 of your buddies going through some of these missions, having land sharks and all sorts of stuff thrown at you. It's gonna be an absolute blast. It really is. So I'm going to leave the footage playing in the background. As you can see, what I said earlier about the dynamic environments, the dynamic lighting, when you put your flashlight on, if you actually angle it correctly, or you've got somebody behind you with a flashlight, you will see your own silhouette thrown out in front of you. And I'll tell you now, if you're anything like me, you'll be trying to shoot your own silhouette, because I've done it so many times, ended up giving my own position away and getting shot in the process. It's as I say, it's a great game as it is. Go check it out, interstellarmarines.com. We're also on Steam in the early access section, and again, I know I've said this I think twice now already, I cannot stress this enough. The game is very early in development. It's not the final version. If you're purchasing it, you're purchasing as much of the vision of the developers as you are of the game as it is today. But it will not... the pricing will go up gradually, a bit like Arma 3 has done, as we build on the game. And in fact, that's one thing that really interested me, is that as it was released only about a month ago, we took a conscious decision not to go into the Steam sale. We could have increased our sales quite a lot by dropping, say, 50% or a third of. We decided not to do that because we felt that it would be unfair on the customers who've already bought the game. Because if you bought it at $15, if you bought the base version, or $40 the Spearhead version, and 2 weeks later it's on Steam sale, I mean, I'd be pretty annoyed. I'm pretty sure everybody else would be. Now, the amazing thing for me is that many members of the community have come back to us and said, that's brilliant customer service. That's thinking about your customers, not dropping the price. And it's the only time I can ever think where a company has been praised for not dropping the price. That's the kind of, that's the kind of awesome community we've got. Some of these guys have been around for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, even 8 years. They've pre-ordered, and now to finally get their hands on the game as it is working, and to see the promise of the co-op and the single player that's going to come in the future, it's incredible for them. It's incredible for me, but it's absolutely incredible for them. So that's the game. Take a look at it. If you decide you're going to pick it up, please do it with the caveats I've already mentioned. As always, thanks a bunch for watching and for listening. Enjoy your gaming, and take care.